Hello, hello, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Purveyor in Fallout 76. It's been a couple of weeks, but I'm pretty sure Mama Mumbles is getting lonely in here, so decided to come back and pay her a visit. We're going to burn through 1,000 Scrip on 3-star legendary ranged weapons, see if we get anything interesting to talk about, and go from there. As always, we'll talk about what makes them good, what makes them bad, what makes them somewhere in between, and see if she's got anything good for a potential weapon spotlight in the future. Remember, if you like videos like this and you want to see more, do go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. You know the drill. Let's get to it. Let's go on in and try our luck. All right, so our first roll of the day is going to be, ooh, that's kind of interesting. We've got a quad light machine gun with VATS critical shots doing more damage and 15% faster reload. So the biggest drawback to the light machine gun is its low ammo capacity in comparison to its fire rate and the type of weapon that it is. As a heavy gun, it has a high fire rate, but it only holds 75 rounds of ammo. So if we could quadruple that to 300 rounds of ammo, well, now maybe this becomes a much more viable weapon. I'd love to see an effect like faster fire rate or explosive or damage while aiming, rather than VATS critical shots doing more damage here. I just don't think most heavy gunners are built for VATS criticals, but maybe there's some utility to that. It's hard to say. 15% faster reload definitely doesn't hurt, but with the quad effect on here, we're not reloading nearly as often, so that's definitely the star of this show, and I think it's one we may take a look at some point. I'd like to see if I can land one with some better second or third stars, but this is not a bad start. Let's see what's next. And our second roll is a Geistes Gauss shotgun with the last round in a magazine, gets 25% chance to deal double damage and extra perception. So the Zealot's effect, of course, has been buffed with Steel Rain. It now does 50% damage instead of 30%, which is definitely an improvement, but it's still highly situational. Last round in the magazine doing double damage. That would be kind of great if it was every last round in every magazine, but a 25% chance, that's really stingy here on this effect, so not really in love with that one. And extra perception will help us with VATS accuracy, and that's good. Ultimately, though, what really is going to power this weapon is just the fact that it's a Gauss shotgun, and Gauss shotguns do a ton of damage, so it's a good solid weapon overall, and it has some legendary effects to make it a bit better. It's not an ideal roll by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a Gauss shotgun, and Gauss shotguns are awesome no matter what. So not a bad roll, not a great roll. Let's move along. All right, and item number 3 is an anti-armor Western revolver with VATS critical shots doing more damage and 15% faster reload. So this one's not bad. Gunslinger builds are tough, especially with cowboy guns in Fallout 76, because you don't get stealth benefits. They fire fairly slowly. So definitely not one of the more popular builds in the game, but if you were going to do it, this would be a good weapon to do it with. Ignoring 50% of your target's armor is always solid, especially if you pair that up with Tank Killer and those two kind of work together. That's going to give you a lot of armor penetration. Chances are, if you're rocking a build like this, you're going to be relying on VATS criticals, so making them more powerful is even better, and giving yourself a 15% faster reload is definitely not a bad thing on a weapon you have to reload every 6 shots. So while the gunslinger build is not going to be ideal for most players, for those who do it, this would be an excellent roll. Very good. So I'd love to say more, but there isn't really more to say, so let's keep going. And now we've got our first big disappointment of the day, a Gormans missile launcher with bashing damage and a chance to generate a stealth field. So here's a whole bunch of who gives a crap effects. Gormans is not a bad effect per se. It gives you a 24% damage buff if you are fully fed and watered. But it's important to remember how that works. It's 12% for water and 12% for food. So you can easily stray on one of those and not max this out, and 24% is really not that much, considering that there are other effects that do 25% with zero effort on your part. Admittedly, the Gormans effect is minimal effort, but there are ones that do more with no necessary effort. There are other effects that do 50% damage, so this one doesn't seem all that impressive to me. Bashing damage on a missile launcher is completely worthless in every way. The only place it's even remotely useful is on a shredding barrel minigun. Everywhere else, it's completely worthless, so totally worthless here. And having a chance to generate a stealth field, who cares? This is a big, loud weapon. You're not going to be sneaky with it. Maybe if you're at a really long distance, you'll be okay, but if you're at enough of a distance that shooting this doesn't affect your stealth, then guess what? You didn't need a stealth field. So this one, 20 pounds, 40 scrip, that's where it's going. Let's see what's next. All right, and another underwhelming missile launcher. Okay, well, this one's maybe a little bit better. It's the juggernauts effect, so we get more damage as our health increases. Unfortunately, that maxes out at 25%, so much like the Gormans effect, it's very underwhelming. However, running at full health could be beneficial with a missile launcher, simply because if you are not particularly well disciplined with it, it can be pretty easy to blow yourself up. So being able to run at full health gives you a little bit more leeway there in terms of how you can use the weapon, so that could be useful. Extra limb damage isn't necessarily a bad thing if you get to take on mobs or packs of enemies, where you can use the area of effect of this weapon to maybe cripple some of them and slow them down. That could potentially be useful. Extra perception is going to help your VATS accuracy a little bit. All in all, not in love with this. Two shots definitely going to be the king of the missile launcher, but so far, not too thrilled with the missile launchers. Definitely not with the effect combos we got on them. This one's probably a little better than the last one, but not by much. And our next one is a two-shot explosive combat rifle with extra perception. What's that, you say? This looks very familiar, almost like you saw it in a weapon spotlight a few days ago. Imagine that. These two things were recorded basically at about the same time. So just channel scheduling and whatnot, here you go. So here it is coming from the Purveyor. So we did get something useful out of the Purveyor in this video. Two-shot explosive has been one of the more popular effects since the inception of the game. It definitely went through a major nerf early on, and of course suffered from some nerfing with One Wasteland, just like everything else did, but it still proves to be a very desirable effect and a very useful set of effects, especially on a weapon like this. Extra perception is going to help our VATS accuracy a little bit. If you watch the weapon spotlight on Tuesday, then you've seen it. It's super powerful, very effective, even at full health, almost on par with a bloodied fixer, in my opinion. So I don't know what kind of witchcraft is making it work that well, because the math that I see shouldn't add up like that, but it does. It works very well. Exceptional weapon. I will put a link at the end of this video to the weapon spotlight from Tuesday, just in case you didn't get a chance to see it, but it's there. This one's a good one, definitely a winner. We get the point, let's move on. And now we've got an Executioner's faster fire rate submachine gun with 90% reduced weight. So we've gotten a few really decent items today. Maybe the Purveyor's been so lonely that she's been saving up good stuff for us here. Since Legendary Crafting, I don't think anybody's really spending any time with her. Even Old Man McRib hasn't been around, so maybe she's trying to help out a little bit. But this one's pretty solid. The Executioner's effect, 50% more damage when your target is below 40% health, and from what I can tell, that damage is still multiplicative, so it's pretty effective, especially on a weapon like this that does lower per shot damage than many of its commando counterparts. So here, you're going to put a lot more shots on your targets than you typically do. So you'll get a little more mileage out of the Executioner's effect on a submachine gun than you will out of something like a fixer or a handmade. Increasing the fire rate definitely helps. Submachine gun doesn't have a super fast fire rate to begin with, so boosting that up is going to be very, very nice. Reducing the weight of it doesn't hurt. Of course, once you get some mods on there, you're not going to get nearly as much out of that effect as you probably should, but it's not a bad thing to have. So Executioner's faster fire rate, this should be a pretty solid weapon, and it may very well be one we see in the future. Definitely a fan of this one. Let's keep going and see if she's got anything else good for us. All right, we've got 3 more to go. I don't want to burn up all my scrip here. Now we've got an Assassin's Railway Rifle with limb damage and faster movement speed while aiming. So much like the Gauss shotgun, the railway rifle is just a really good weapon, period. So it almost doesn't matter what legendary effects you get on it, because even one without legendary effects is still going to do extremely well. This one gives us more damage to humans, which does include players as well. So if you get into PvP with something like this, that could be particularly useful. Extra limb damage. It's not a bad thing to have, but this is one of those really powerful per shot weapons that your targets just aren't going to live long enough to notice that you've broken their legs. So, I mean, I guess that's maybe very nice for them in a certain sense of mercy, but not very effective for you. Faster movement speed while aiming. You really only get a benefit out of that if you don't have Speed Demon, and most players at higher levels do, so not really going to get any mileage out of that one. For all intents and purposes, this is an Assassin's Railway Rifle. If you're into PvP, cool. If you spend a lot of time hunting human NPCs, you'll get something out of this. Otherwise, at over 10 pounds, it's definitely going in the Scrip bin pretty quick. So next up, we've got a Junkies crossbow with limb damage and 25% less VATS AP cost. So this one's kind of intriguing. The Junkies effect does give you a pretty healthy damage buff. Limb damage doesn't make a ton of sense here. This is another one of those weapons where you kind of want to kill things really, really fast with it. You'll be stealthy, so you'll get your sneak benefits, and this will do pretty decent per shot damage, especially if you target some weak points. Less VATS AP cost is going to make it easier to use in VATS, of course. So here again, limb damage star, probably not doing a whole lot for us. The Junkies effect, if you are already running a Junkies build especially, this could make for an intriguing sidearm. Reducing your VATS AP cost makes it easier to use. So as far as crossbows go, this isn't a bad one. I'm not a huge fan of the crossbow just because the DPS isn't very high. But if you want a challenge, if you like using weapons like this could be a decent one to roll with. We've got one more roll left today. Let's see what we can get. And that roll is a Zealot's Crusader pistol that replenishes action points with each kill and extra perception. So this one is kind of interesting. I don't love it because it's a situational effect, but I do kind of like that we replenish AP with each kill, and I like extra perception. That's going to help us with VATS accuracy. This is the kind of weapon that you're not probably going to use as a primary weapon, but you might use it as a sidearm. Maybe you're a stealth commando and you want to put a suppressor on it. Put the 5.56 receiver on it so you can use ammo that you already have a ton of, or maybe you just want to burn through 10mm that's cheap and plentiful and you find all over the place. This could be a good weapon to use for certain events. There are lots of events around the map where you see Scorched. You've got daily ops where you see Scorched. If your primary is a handmade, pop your 5.56 barrel on this, or receiver rather, and then there you go. You can go into daily ops and farm 5.56 ammo with something like this. So it could be kind of an interesting one with very specific uses. Replenishing action points with each kill, not a bad thing, especially if you're a VATS user. It doesn't completely refill them, it just gives you a chunk of them back, which is nice. So it doesn't hurt to have that, it'll definitely keep you going well. I'd prefer to see that paired up with something like less VATS AP cost rather than extra perception. But all in all, you know, not a bad second star. Extra perception doesn't hurt, doesn't do anything major either. So not an amazing roll, nothing you're gonna main your character with, but as a sidearm, it could have some potential uses. So it's a little bit interesting, not a bad one to end the day with. That, ladies and gentlemen, is gonna do it for this trip to Mama Mumbles. I know she's been lonely since Legendary Crafting started, so we had to come back and see her, and we'll still keep coming back every other week or so. And just to see if she's got anything good for us. Today, she definitely had some interesting things to take a look at. Remember, I'll put a link at the end of this video to the 2-shot explosive combat rifle video, just in case you haven't seen it. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for today. I thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter for updates. You all get the point. I hope I see you all next time. Have a good one.